Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, everybody around the world. Welcome back to the One Piece video featuring your girl, Charlotte Pudding. Come at you guys with a very spicy game today with Pudding playing against Bonnie, which I'm very excited to showcase to you. This was at our local scene on Curio Caverns in Fairfax, in which we played up against one of our good friends, Suki, who is very phenomenal at this game. Thankfully, he's in a rut right now trying to figure out whether or not he wants to play Bonnie, Rob Lucci, and Blackbeard for the upcoming regional scene. So we're sitting here getting some practice in on Bonnie versus Pudding. In any case, this matchup, this deck list is what we were playing with, in which this is not optimized fully. I'm still missing some cards. I cannot find extra Violas laying around because, you know, EBO1. Unfortunately, it was a while ago, so this has been sorted out. So you guys will get the updated list in the future Pudding video, which will probably be tomorrow, maybe, give or take. We won't have Violas just yet, considering everything was recorded prior, but we're gonna play a bunch of Pudding games and have a good time with it. In any case, this is the list that we are cooking up as of right now. When this is fully optimized, I will be dropping my Brulés in favor of Viola. The whole deck list will change a little bit here just to make sure we're able to hit our curve with our ramp with Katakuri. The 10-drop Linlin will also be dropping to the 9-cost Linlin, and we'll get into that. Either way, I'm looking to at least have 10 blockers in the deck with 2 Ananas, 4 Violas, and then 4 Katakuris in future, so that's going to be something we're going to be playing around with. Currently, we're going to go ahead and dive into some games today. See you guys in a split second. Let's go. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. We're going to go ahead and get right into this matchup here with Pudding playing into Jewelry Bonnie. So, we're getting some practice in on this matchup here, in which I think it's favored towards Pudding, and he also thinks it's favored into Pudding, but I digress. Pudding is not necessarily the best when it comes to the current metagame, so she does have problems. But she does do well into UP Luffy, Black Purple Luffy, and then Green Purple Luffy. She does have some pretty good matchups into those, but we do suffer into certain matchups like Zuzoro and then Bello Betty if you aren't playing the matchup correctly. And then Gum Gum Giant is a card. So, outside of that, your boy Teach is also problematic if we aren't running the 10-drop, you know? The Rush Linlin, it could be problematic there, but in any case, in this matchup here, we finally actually got our curve here with Katakuri. And there are some days I feel like I always hit the 6-drop off the search. If I don't already have it in hand, then I'm going for the 10-cost Linlin. But in this particular game, we actually got the 6-cost off our first search, which was really nice. We're going to go ahead and drop the Brulé early, just to rip the life, gain an extra Dawn here, which is pretty good. I do have the option of playing Flampe to take the Pudding and draw an extra card, but I'd rather not do that in this matchup, especially when Jewelry Bonnie has access to Hody Jones, which is kind of scary. So I do want to counter out of this hit because we're just going to flip it over with Katakuri in the following turn. So either way, if we didn't play the Brulé here, we would have played the Flampe to take the first life and then played Katakuri, you know, the following. There goes a Tashigi, which is kind of nice. Now, the reason why we did guard out from that hit is because I can drop down a Zeus here just to pop the Tashigi and the hit that I was originally going to take, which would be the Pudding to hand. Instead, now we can just play the Zeus and take the Pudding and pop the Tashigi here. We'll go down to 2 life, but the Tashigi is no longer going to be an issue for later. And we really don't have any other options here. We are going to drop the 6-cost Katakuri, and then we'll get an active Dawn off the ramp, which can allow us to play Zeus for the turn. And it doesn't really matter here if we go 5 or drop the Kata first, because we're going to spend the other 2 Dawn on the Zeus. So let's go ahead and drop the Kata. We'll do the thing. Get the active. And then we can either do Zeus or Shirahoshi here, right? Let's go 5 lead. And he's going to rest the Brulé. Takes the hit, which is nice. And now I was kind of contemplating whether or not to do this or not. Well, we have to remove this for future, right? Because if he does play the Cavendish, which I'm pretty sure he does next turn, it'll make it very difficult for me to remove it later. So go ahead and snipe the pudding, and we'll pass it over. So we're on track just to drop Big Mom next turn. There's 5 lead here. We'll give you the Kata, because we no longer need a second one. It's 2. Okay, so another searcher comes down. And I think I do make the misplay here. I think it's this turn where I make the misplay. Or maybe it's the next one, but we do make a big misplay later on in this game here. Let's go ahead and restand. And we'll do the thing. Unfortunately, we cannot swing with our leader because he will rest it. And typically you kind of want to play the Big Mom down first, but if you play Big Mom in this situation, then he just rests the Katakuri. So, yep. Kill this. And then we'll do the 10 Mom. Go back up to 3 life here. Ooh, the first one is really good for us just because we rip out the Hody Jones from life with the Big Mom. And I think that's one of the major things in Jewelry Bonnie. We go down in life so fast considering we take our life with the first swing typically. And then we're at 3 or 2 depending on whether or not Bonnie wins the die roll. And if we end up on 2 life, the Hody Jones is just super, super scary. Thankfully, we did win the die roll here, and you typically want to win the die roll as pudding. No matter what matchup, you kind of want to go first, no matter what it is. But you want to be able to ramp faster than your opponent. With that being said, you often have the chance of being on 10 Dawn for 2 turns prior to your opponent actually getting the 10. So if you can chain Big Moms back to back before your opponent drops their first 10 cost, it just kind of nets you the game in a lot of situations that they can't remove it or have a response to the first Big Mom that comes down. We're going to go 10 in the Katakuri here. I can't really let this one go because I need the other body on board. Because once we swing with Lin Lin, our leader gets rested, then we have no other swing left. So in this situation, we swing Lin Lin and then Katakuri gets rested, then we can attack with leader and then drop another 10k, or sorry, drop another Big Mom. But we kind of got to dump our whole hand here just to keep the Katakuri on board, and I think that is the value play. We're not going to be playing pudding next turn anyway, you know what I mean? Or the Shirahoshi because we're going to drop the 10 Mom. And speaking of 10 Mom, we get another one. Let's go ahead and go 12 lead. Yep. We'll go 5 here. And most players would take this because they're tempted to just get the card before the 10 Mom drops. But in this situation, Suki did not know that we didn't have a rush Big Mom, so he did play it correctly. Which in most cases, the rush Big Mom does throw off a lot of players. If we did have the rush Mom, we go another 12k, and then he either has to guard out or take the hit here. So it's either go to 0 or lose the blocker. Let's see, I think this is Beppo, right? Which Beppo is a card. It's very, very good. Beppo allows it to rest anything on board, which is very, very strong. So he can tap down the Big Mom. And then if I have 3 or more rested characters, then their leader gains 2,000 power for the next turn. And well, to the end of the next turn, which is nice. So that means Bonnie will become a 7k. So, yep. So here comes the Beppo. I'm going to rest the Big Mom. And I think this is our second misplay of the game. Because earlier we swung in on the Jewelry Bonnie, like the, what do you call it, the Searcher with Pudding. And I didn't realize he didn't have any Dawn active, and I should have swung into it with Pudding. So that was kind of funny. But outside of that, we have another play here where we go 5 into lead and we get a 1k counter, although Jewelry Bonnie is a 7 and we both forgot it's a 7, so there's that. 1 Rosinante up, 2 1 Rosinante, 1 Rouge. We're going to be resting in Katakuri. At this point, we're just trying to get cards out of hand here because we're at 3 life, right? So we're kind of safe outside of Hody, I think. Hody is still kind of scary if they can deal the damage and then just drop down Hody Jones. But I think at this point, with the double moms being on board, we're kind of in a safe spot. Because now we're going to drop a 3rd one, go to 4 life, and now we're pretty healthy for the rest of this game. We haven't seen a Eustace Kid yet, which is kind of cool. I'm not sure if Eustace Kid would have been a lot more useful for previously, but the Beppo really does change the game a little bit, being a big body on board, and only have 1 card in hand here. This is my second misplay right here. So they have 3 Dawn up, right? They need to attach 1 Dawn to the Eustace Kid and have a Dawn up for Bonnie's leader effect. If they decide to attach Dawn to the Beppo, which I didn't realize this, but if they attach the Dawn to the Beppo swings on Big Mom for 12. I could have guarded out the Big Mom here with the 1k pudding. But then again, I wasn't too certain what they would play down for 1 Dawn here. Because now they get to go 5. So we take this hit, 0 cost event. The effect, Arouge restance. So I think either way, I decided to play that. If they wanted to attach another Dawn to Beppo to go 13 to 12, I wouldn't have been able to guard out the Big Mom anyhow. We're going to go 12 into Kid. Which, at this point, you get 6 cards in hand, right? So I think we're probably going to get 3. Yeah, we get 3 cards out. That's 2 Scratchman Apoos for 2Ks. That's crazy. Alright. Yeah, that's right. Let's go ahead and go 10 into Kid as well. This should force the Arouge blocker. Unless I get another 2k counters or 3k from hand. So Arouge is down. We still have to remove the Kid on board, unfortunately. So we're going to go 11k into Kid. Nice. I'm going to go 5 lead, get another card out of hand. They would have 4 cards in hand if we didn't attack with 5 into the 7 and they pitched the 1k, because we both realized Bonnie was a 7k on the following turn that we both forgot, so. Beppo is still up. So they should be able to remove Big Mom this turn. At the very least, right? Because we only have 2 cards in hand, which is the Veggie and the 0 cost event. They get Kid and Killer blocker. So we're going to go 9 into Katakuri. I could guard this one out, but we're going to let this one go. Just in case they want to swing into the Big Mom and wanted to keep the counter here to protect the Big Mom. But then again, that's my fault, because they can just go 15 here, and I can't touch it, right? Because I go to 15 with the 0 cost event. Yeah, that's right. So they get a Dawn for the Kid and Killer. And we can go 15 to the Big Mom here, and they still have 2 Dawn left over. Yep. 6 into Brule. I will protect the Brule here. That way we have 3 swings for the following turn. So we go 12 and they'll rest the leader, then we just stack everything on Brule. With only 2 cards in hand here. Nice. Because the Big Mom should eat up the blocker, at the very least. Katakuri. Yep. Get the draw. I'm gonna go 14. And well played. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the end of the first match, or not the first match, but the matchup in general here with putting into Jewelry Bonnie, in which I feel like we both agree that the matchup for us is just super favored into Jewelry Bonnie. Bonnie kind of wants to just drop the 8-cost kid and sit behind a wall and into the late game, right? That's kind of normally how it works. But we have the luxury with the 10-drop mom that we can just rip life, therefore they don't get the counter in hand to be able to sit behind the useless kid in most cases. Unless Jewelry Bonnie does win the die roll, and then we whiff on our 6-drop Katakuri, or whiff on any sort of ramp, and which doesn't allow us to play Big Moms back to back, or find a Big Mom off a search, it can be problematic. But when we are able to play 10 to 14 searchers with the 1-cost event here and then the 4 and 4 pudding, it's a little bit easier and more consistent to draw into the Lin into the late game. The problem is getting the ramp in the early game off the 6-drop Katakuri, or putting down a Viola to flip the life up to be able to swing in again with pudding to ramp that way as well. It can be tricky. But considering Bonnie, like I said, wants to just drop the 8-cost kid and then try to hide behind a wall, once we're able to play Big Moms back to back, it makes it a little impossible for Bonnie to just be able to do that. This is going to be a 12k swing into the 8k blocker, which is a lot of cards out of Jewelry Bonnie's hand to be able to protect it. And if you guys have been playing this deck for a long time, you know how many bricks that Bonnie typically runs, anywhere between 12 to 15 with the big body, sometimes a little less. But that is less counter in hand in a late game in most case situations. Now, Bonnie, of course, has a very good time into the metagame right now. There are a couple decks that Bonnie does struggle into, but Bonnie, being pretty good at this moment, is a top tier deck, if you will, compared to some of the other off-meta decks that we have. Now, this matchup can go very, very differently into a lot of other decks in today's format, but I do think into a Jewelry Bonnie matchup, Pudding has a pretty good time. But overall, I do hope you guys enjoyed today's matchup here. We will be diving into a bunch more Charlotte Pudding games for the next couple days, and a Yamato list here for the channel. I hope you guys have a good rest of the day. Remember to hit that like button so we get these videos floating around, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Enjoy yourselves out.